top stories. COVID task force meets with political party officials. One hospitalized after accident in downtown Bastille. And officials tour renovations at East Line bus terminal. The details on these stories and more after the break.
Use BioCare Lab Strong Ends products to supercharge your hair with deep lasting hydration from nature's most amazing moisturizers, raw moisturizing honey, and conditioning shea butter. These ingredients pull moisture from the hair to boost, strengthen, and restore the oldest and weakest parts of your hair, your ends, helping to keep them stronger. Wow, beautiful hair. Strong Ends. Dry, damaged, breaking hair, and no hair growth? Strong ends? Whoa! I'm not cutting this hair for anything. Weak, thinning edges due to weaves and braids. Strong ends? Longer and free of split ends. Get supercharged from roots to end with BioCare Lab Strong Ends Honey and Shea Butter Infused Relaxer and Hair Growth Product. Available retail at CNC Superfoods on the Bay Road and wholesale at CNC Trading on the CAP Southville Industrial Park. Telephone 465-4081.
Trustworthy, secure, reliable, and responsive. These are just some of the words customers use to describe their experience with the Bank of Nevis Limited. And after 35 years of delivering excellent customer service and honoring our corporate social responsibilities in the island of Nevis, we are finally coming to St. Kitts. Come and experience why we're not just another option. We are the standard. Bond strong.
Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 Newscast. I'm Carla Barrage. On Tuesday, the National COVID-19 Task Force met with representatives of various political parties at a consultation session at NEMA headquarters. ZIZ News spoke with Task Force Chair Abdias Samuel, who explained that this is part of the force's efforts to get various groups involved in the Road to Recovery plan.
This is a very historic and significant meeting because we are going to get political leaders, influential persons in our community, being around the table, having a wholesome discussion in the all of society approach. And it will show that even though there are difference of opinions and views in political matters, we can actually come together in the interests of country above self to be able to contribute to a plan that will bring St. Kitts and Nevis out of this pandemic collectively. That's why, for me, it's very significant.
He said previously the task force approach was to give an open invitation for any group to come and work with them in the national response to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, that has not been very effective. So now they have changed tactics and are reaching out to specific sectors of society to enlist their aid.
We realize that having an open invitation for all to come, all of society to come, pose challenges like everything else. Yeah, everybody also has hesitancies, not only with the vaccine, but with engagement. And after analyzing and realizing that the open invitation was not yielding as much feedback as we would want to from persons who have opposing views, then is when we said let's have the targeted meeting with these particular groups.
Mr. Samuel said following Tuesday's meeting, the task force wants to continue working with the parties and other stakeholders to develop a recovery plan for St. Kitts and Nevis and reach herd immunity. Investigations are underway after an accident in downtown Bastille left a man hospitalized. On Tuesday, sometime just before midday, emergency medical technicians and police arrived at the junction of 4th and Keon Streets after a report of an accident involving a vehicle and a man. The injured man was transported to the JNF hospital via ambulance. Police were observed processing the scene shortly after. A police investigation is ongoing. Work continues at the East Line bus terminal at Wellington Road as the Public Works Department addresses two issues bus drivers face. More in this report.
On Monday afternoon, senior government officials visited the terminal to observe the renovation progress so far. Chief Engineer, the Public Works Department, George Gilbert, explained to the media that one of the issues being addressed is revamping the spaces so that all models of buses can fit.
The suppliers have brought in some new buses which are much longer than what we know. And as a result, they are experiencing some challenges in maneuvering the curb in the terminal. So we are here to do some adjustments to those curbs and to make it more user-friendly for all.
He said they are also doing some renovation to address a concern of the bus drivers who may have to leave the terminal in a hurry if there's an emergency.
The bus drivers told us that they want to be able to queue up so that at least everybody gets a piece of the action. But now they apparently went back to their drawing board. And now they are saying that when they queue up, they recognize that some of the bus drivers, during an emergency, when you're in the queue, in the middle of the queue, you have no way of getting out. So we are making an adjustment so that at least we are trying to accommodate them.
Minister of Transport, the Honourable Lindsay Grant, said the work being done is an example of the government's commitment to listen to the bus drivers and tackle problems that may have arisen.
The unity government, we listen to our constituents, and the bus community of the East Bus Line said to us that there were some deficiencies, and deficiencies that we ought to correct. And so that's why we're here this afternoon, to correct two of the deficiencies that they have been complaining about.
Minister Grant said the work on the terminal should take about a month. In the meantime, the buses are operating from the old location near the Seventh-day Adventist Church along Wellington Road. Jason Davis for ZIZ News.
As the nation's roll-up to roll-out vaccination campaign continues, we now take a look at the latest vaccination report. After the break, jobs on horizon in renewable energy sector and smart electronics donates to Ministry of Environment. Stay with us.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
Here are your horns for Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag Specials for March 29th through April 11th. Oranges, $1.25 each. Essential Everyday Bar Cheeses, $7.99. Tropicana Twister or regular, $7.99. Essential Everyday or IGA Saltine Crackers, $6.99. VO5 shampoos or conditioners, $4.79. And now introducing our very low weekly value deal. Chicken drumsticks, all size, $4.99 for tray. Essential Everyday Dry Roasted Peanuts, $9.99. Icy box drinks, $8.99. IGA Real Mayonnaise, $10.99. Pillsbury Brownie Mix, $4.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Sea listo y haga sus compras a Value Mart.
Get ready for an exciting year with Floyd Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Floyd TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD, plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
When growing your savings, where you save matters more than you think. Dare to compare and see for yourself why you should start saving and investing at First Federal Credit Union. You don't have to settle for cents. Let your money make sense. Reap a higher return by stashing your cash in a high-yield savings account or term deposit and earn up to 4% interest on your money. At First Federal, we say yes.
Welcome back. Potential jobs are on the horizon as the Federation looks to solar power as a renewable form of electrical energy. That's according to Utilities Minister Honorable Bushon Richards. In recent years, the government and Leclanche have inked deals to supply the St. Kitts Electricity Company with solar energy that will be supplied to the country's electrical grid. In giving an update on those agreements, Minister Richards said that Leclanche is expected to begin groundwork shortly.
Leclanche is now in that phase whereby it is beginning to look at persons to start working in terms of building the slabs, etc., that the solar panels would be placed on. I don't think any advertisement has been put out as yet, but in my communications with Leclanche and also just yesterday I would have had an update from the general manager for Skellig. Lachlanche has indicated that it is almost there. I know for a fact that it has begun also looking at the sourcing of vehicles, apartments, etc. For staff that is supposed to be coming in from overseas to assist with the building out of the solar farm.
Job creation and training will be an aspect of the solar farm in St. Kitts and Nevis.
I think the Lachlanche solar farm holds a lot of potential for persons here in St. Kitts and Nevis. In the first instance, we expect quite a substantial number of locals to be involved in terms of getting employment through that particular development. Now, maybe it is that because of the extent and the expertise that is involved, that some persons may have to be recruited from overseas initially to assist with the setting up of the solar farm. However, there also is the potential for local persons to be trained so that going forward you have that expertise residing in local persons here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Minister Richards encouraged the public to position themselves to learn about and become employed in the energy sector so they can positively impact the generation of solar power on the island.
Use this as an example to begin to condition your minds towards the opportunities that would become available. Do not just become the consumers of solar energy, but become involved in the industry to the extent that you can make the panels, you can install the panels, you can do all of the necessary work associated with the panels, becoming entrepreneurs.
Foundational work is expected to commence within the next quarter of this year. The Ministry of Environment partnered with technology store Smart Electronics for their Power Up with Smart Electronics program, which will allow the ministry to provide the public with awareness on environmental issues. As part of the partnership established with the ministry, Smart Electronics donated a cell phone in a recent ceremony at the store. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Sharon Rattan, explained that this is one step to getting the people of the Federation more equipped with knowledge of the environment.
The Ministry of Environment is dead set on increasing the visibility of the department and for our citizens to become better environmental stewards. So this is one step towards that.
Environmental Education Officer Darian Edmin explained the importance of sensitizing the public on environmental issues and how the device will be utilized.
From the communication aspect from the department, we understand the importance of sensitizing the general public on environmental matters. Some of the things that we realize that there are many ills that persons need to become aware of, and powering up us with smart electronics will be a great opportunity for us to get that information out. What that means is that there are certain devices that we know that we're going to need in order for us to do recording, whether still photos and so forth, and this partnership will help us to do so.
Director of Smart Electronics, Salesh Nainani, said he is pleased to assist the ministry with the initiative.
Well, we are really happy to assist them with a beautiful Samsung A02s phone, and hope so this will be helping them to do the good things about the environment.
Director of Smart Electronics, Salesh Nainani. The Water Services Department is asking persons to be more responsible with water usage, especially during the dry season. Acting Manager of the Water Services Department, Cromwell Williams, says as we experience the dry spell around this time, there is less water coming from mountain sources, therefore less water is available for distribution.
So like now, we have to be careful. Things like some of the sports stadium, they shouldn't be really watering their grass, and even persons in their homes, you know, you shouldn't be watering your lawns at this time, because we don't have enough water for domestic use inside of your houses, plus watering grass and flowers. You know, I mean, the latter half of the year when we get into the rainy season, but during this time, as we are totally dependent on rainfall, we need to bear that in mind, that during this first half of the year, especially around March, April, is the driest time, and around this time, we all need to be very vigilant on how we utilize water.
Mr. Williams also used the opportunity to encourage consumers to pay attention to water usage in comparison to bill calculations to ensure there are no leaks that lead to water being wasted.
Once you're using water carefully, most persons' bills will not go beyond, say, as I said, $20, $30, $40. However, if you have leaks and you're not dealing with them, you'll find that your bill will be much higher. And so that is one of the reasons why we want people to start paying attention to what they're using, paying attention to their bills, realizing, you know, whether or not what they're using is reasonable.
At present, the Water Services Department is undergoing a revenue collection initiative where persons who are in arrears are being asked to visit the department on or before April 15th to settle outstanding bills. Williams said this is part of managing the water resource so that it is not wasted. These connections will take place after April 15th, 2021. And finally, on the local scene, the police force has announced that several officers recently received letters confirming their ranks. The confirmation of Inspectors Joel Keynes and Shauna Edwards took effect from December 1st, 2018, and from October 1st, 2018 for Sergeants Marvin Thompson, Fallon Hodge, Kishawn Charles, and Travis Henry. At a brief handing over ceremony at police headquarters, members of the executive command congratulated the officers and offered words of advice and motivation. Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy urged them to continue working hard and to set their sights on being promoted to the next rank. He implored them to tighten up in the areas where they are currently having challenges. Assistant Commissioner of Police Andrew Mitchell stressed to the officers that knowledge is power and encouraged them to pursue academic excellence throughout their careers. Meanwhile, the newly confirmed officers were encouraged by ACP Adolph Adams to lead by example and be transparent, be consistent, and be trustworthy. Force Chaplain Erickson Cumberbatch and Force Personnel Officer Clifford Govaya thanked them for their service and hard work. Coming up in regional news, street name after Botham Jean. The details when we come back.
Of St. Kitts and Nevis. We make a sustained positive difference in your life.
Horseworth Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseworth Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes, for the months of February and March, Horseworth Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy. 25% off.
of mind and one less to
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is rolling out Dcash, the next step in the evolution of the EC dollar. Use Dcash to send and receive money to and from friends and family. Make payments directly from your smart device. Make payments from wherever you are. Download the app from the Google Play or Apple Store and sign up, or visit dcashec.com for more information. The future of the EC dollar is digital. Let's make history together.
And we're moving now to news on the regional scene. A portion of a street in Dallas, Texas has officially been dedicated as Botham Boulevard, named in honor of the St. Lucian who was shot and killed inside his apartment by Dallas police officer Amber Geiger. Geiger was convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison. The Shaw family was in Dallas this weekend for the renaming ceremony. Here's more.
Surrounded by leaders of the city of Dallas, the Shaw family watched as the street where Botham Shaw once lived was renamed in his honor. Described as an historic event, the ceremony was a bittersweet moment for the family.
This is hard. It is really hard to be here. It is bittersweet. Yes, we want everyone to remember Botham. We want everyone to forever say his name. But for this sign to be up here, that means he's not. And it is hard for us. I thought I was going to be strong because it's supposed to be a celebration, but I miss my brother. I want him back.
During the ceremony, a video tribute was played featuring images of Jean performing with church members along with words from friends and co-workers. Also included was a video message from St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chasney.
On behalf of the government and the people of St. Lucia, I welcome the renaming of part of the South Lamar Street to Botham Jean Boulevard. While clearly this is no consolation to his parents and family, we need to ensure that this young man is not forgotten. All who knew Botham were lucky enough to be offered a glimpse at what we all have lost, a life filled with faith, family, and an openness of heart, attributes that we seek in our own youth.
The Dallas City Council approved the renaming of the stretch of road on Lamar Street in honor of Botham Jean back in January. Located on Botham Jean Boulevard is not only the apartment where he and his killer, former police officer Amber Geiger, lived, but there also lies the Dallas Police Headquarters where Geiger worked. Along with the new name, Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson offered the family a declaration that proclaimed March 27th to officially be Botham Jean Day. The family says though both tributes are a step in the right direction, they do not take away from the need for accountability.
The street renaming is a good way in which many people are going to say his name, know his name, and know who he was.
The Shaw family will be back in North Texas in April when former officer Amber Geiger appears in court to appeal her 10-year prison sentence. They also plan to travel to Austin, Texas next week, hoping to bring about police and criminal justice reform. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
In Antigua, Parliament's upper house gave the green light to a resolution to extend the state of emergency for another 90 days today. It comes on the heels of a similar approval in the lower house last week. There was another round of intense debate with opposition senators raising concerns about the measure. More in this ABS News report.
Another set of arguments from the opposition in its attempt to dissuade the government from moving ahead with the extension of the state of emergency. The leader of opposition business in the Senate, Richard Lewis, introduced his interpretation of the Constitution on matters of health protocols currently being used to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
So we're looking at mandatory curfew, which is a restriction of your freedom of movement, Section 8. Social distancing protocol, restriction of your freedom of assembly, Section 13. The wearing of face mask in public, restriction of your freedom of movement. Restriction on social gathering, the fourth one, that's restriction of freedom of movement and freedom of assembly. So again, everything zeroes in on Sections 8 and 13 of the Constitution.
But Senator Gail Christian, using her expertise as a lawyer, noted the absence of the state of emergency opens the government to legal challenges from members of her profession for a matter that is seeking to protect the health of citizens.
Just as Senator Lewis has said repeatedly in here, he doesn't think that the state of emergency needs to exist. I want to say again, maybe for the fifth time, that I think it needs to exist. Because someone like me without it would probably be challenging over and over and over again the constitutionality of a curfew or the restriction of movements in the absence of a state of emergency.
Senator Christian further argues that there are good grounds for the maintenance of the state of emergency until the country can be satisfied that it has enough people vaccinated to achieve herd immunity.
Once you reach herd immunity, I think it only natural that you begin to look at lifting it. But until then, until persons understand that you can't go on a 108 square mile island. When you go to Fry's Beach or any beach on any day in large numbers and congregate, you're putting all of us at risk.
And the resolution, like in the lower house, was put to the floor for a vote and was passed by a count of 10-4, with all members of the government side and the senator appointed by the Governor General voting in favor. Andy Liebert reporting for ABS News.
Coming up, doctors in France say it is too late to slow third COVID wave. We'll tell you more when we come back.
Imagine having the luxury of putting all your trust in one insurance company and being able to enjoy life to the fullest without having to worry. Well, don't imagine. National Caribbean Insurance is here to take care of all your insurance needs. Insure your life, vehicle, boat, home, belongings, and your future. At NCI, we make it our business to ensure that you enjoy every stage in life. We serve, we protect, we satisfy. That's NCI.
Welcome back. French President Emmanuel Macron is calling up government's coronavirus vaccination campaign to combat a situation ministers have described as critical. COVID-19 infection rates are rising across the country, and the government has put in place new strict measures to combat its spread. The government is mobilizing more health workers and opening mass vaccination centers for the first time after a slow start. Al Jazeera's Natasha Butler reports.
France's biggest COVID vaccination centre, the National Velodrome in Saint-Quentin near Paris, where the French cycling team is training for the Tokyo Olympics. The elite athletes are an unusual distraction for those waiting. The elderly are being prioritised in the country's vaccine rollout that began in December. People like Monique, who hopes that being immunised will allow her to resume a more normal life.
The idea is to have more freedom. It's my first dose. After the second, hopefully I can look after my grandchildren in their school holidays.
An average of 2,000 people are vaccinated here each day, but Saint-Quentin's mayor says the operation will be soon scaled up, with a drive-in facility and more staff.
The new virus variants are placing extra pressure on us because more people want to be vaccinated, and fast. You sense people are scared. Cases in schools are going up. We feel the pressure is rising.
Dozens of mass vaccination centres like this one are being prepared around the country after French President Emmanuel Macron promised to accelerate the country's immunisation campaign.
Vaccination is a national priority. There are no public holidays, no weekend for the vaccination campaign. We have to vaccinate as much as possible in all the vaccination centres open at the national level.
Macron has stepped up the sense of urgency that was lacking at the start of the vaccine campaign. So far, 1 in 10 people has received a first dose in France, compared to half of Britain's adult population. The government has blamed pharmaceutical companies for failing to deliver enough doses to the European Union. Now some doctors say that a lack of facilities and bureaucracy could hinder progress.
Donc il faut qu'on ait la certitude, d'avoir les doses.
The priority is having enough doses. Then it must be easier and simpler to take appointments, and we need to offer vaccinations, not just in vaccinodromes, but more locally, to make it easier for everyone to find a vaccination centre.
Macron wants 30 million people immunised by mid-June, with every adult offered the possibility of a jab by August. The president is gambling on a major vaccine push to avoid another national lockdown. But with daily infection cases rising fast, hospitals in many regions saturated, it's likely to be a challenging race to the finish line. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Saint-Quentin en Yvelines.
Opening arguments began on Monday in the racially charged trial of a white former police officer accused of killing a black man, George Floyd, in May last year. The prosecution and defense are laying out the case for whether Floyd's death was a result of excessive force or a combination of heart problems, drugs, and COVID-19, and began by showing the video of Derek Chauvin with his knee in Floyd's neck. Floyd's killing subsequently set off global protest against racism and police brutality. Al Jazeera's John Hendren reports.
Firm under penalty of perjury.
The most watched civil rights trial in America opened with a stark accusation of murder.
Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge when he used excessive and unreasonable force upon the body of Mr. George Floyd. That he put his knees upon his neck and his back, grinding and crushing him until the very breath, no, ladies and gentlemen, until the very life were squeezed out of him.
As opening arguments began in the trial of the police encounter that sparked a racial revolution in the streets, the lawyer for the white former Minneapolis police officer accused of murdering a black man named George Floyd shot back.
And you will learn that Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career. The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth. The prosecution's first witness, a police dispatcher who watched on police cameras as officers knelt on the back and neck of George Floyd. Then she did something she'd never done before. She called the police on the police, alerting a sergeant to what seemed to her like an unusual use of force. Floyd was on the ground so long, she said, she thought the video had frozen.
I don't know if they had used force or not. They got something out of the back of the squad, and all of them sat on this man.
The central question in this case is this. Did Chauvin kill Floyd using unreasonable force, as the prosecution suggests? Or did a combination of drugs, COVID-19, and heart trouble kill him, as the defense contends? Those arguments are the beginning of what's likely to be a month-long trial filled with painful and potentially inflammatory testimony. With jurors watching new evidence and rewatching that disturbing 9 minutes of video of George Floyd using his final breaths to cry out for his life. I can breathe. Minneapolis is boarding up and bracing for the final verdict, and the possibility it could revive the riots of the long and violent summer of 2020. Outside the heavily fortified courthouse, Floyd's family made it clear it is American racial justice that is on trial.
They say trust the system. They want us to trust the system. Well, this is your chance to show us that we can trust you.
Judge Peter Cahill says it's a police officer that's on trial, not race. But once the jury has its say in the racially charged case of a black man who died under the knee of a white police officer, the crowds in the streets of Minneapolis and cities across the U.S. will render their own verdict on racial justice in America. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Minneapolis.
Up next in sports, senior men's team coach pleased with wins, and we have the basketball weekend results. Stay with us.
Imagine having the luxury of putting all your trust in one insurance company and being able to enjoy a life to the fullest without having to worry. Well, don't imagine. National Caribbean Insurance is here to take care of all your insurance needs. Insure your life, vehicle, boat, home, belongings, and your future. At NCI, we make it our business to ensure that you enjoy every stage in life. We serve, we protect, we satisfy. That's NCI.
Covering the crop. No, come in the ever like this. The coronavirus is bad. So there is one thing we can do. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands.
Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. To keep away the flu, there is one thing we must do. Wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands.
Neva, coach of the senior men's national team, also known as the Sugar Boys, is quite pleased with the results of their first two matches of the Qatar 2022 World Cup qualifiers. The Sugar Boys registered wins in both matches, the most recent a 4-0 victory over the Bahamas on Saturday. Andrea Huey, media consultant to the SKNFA, has more in this report.
The 4-0 victory against the Bahamas in Qatar World Cup qualifying action on Saturday is an amazing result for St. Kitts and Nevis, said coach of the senior men's national team, Leo Nieva. Coach Nieva said in a statement Monday he was very pleased with the result considering the team had little preparation due to COVID-19 restrictions ahead of the first two World Cup qualifiers. He pointed out that his opponents, Puerto Rico and Bahamas, played friendly matches prior to the qualifiers. Puerto Rico played 3 times and the Bahamas twice. St. Kitts and Nevis was unable to do so. The Sugar Boys preceded Saturday night's victory with a 1-0 win over Puerto Rico last Wednesday. Coach Nieva said, quote, "The most important thing for us is the 6 points with 5 goals scored and 0 against. I enjoyed a lot the draw on Sunday between Trinidad and Tobago and Puerto Rico 1-1 because we have a +5 goal difference and Trinidad +3, end quote. Trinidad and Tobago and St. Kitts and Nevis are in Group F along with Puerto Rico and the Bahamas and Guyana. We have a real good chance to qualify, Coach Nieva said, but we need to improve our preparation and always with your feet on the ground. We can't get excited. Victories cover up mistakes." Coach Nieva disclosed that the team switched formations between when they possessed the ball and when they didn't. After defeating Puerto Rico last week, Wednesday, Coach Nieva had high words of commendation for his players and members of his technical team. He said the team played hard, simple and efficient football. He said he's very satisfied with the efforts of all the staff as well as the commitment and performance of the players on the field. St. Kitts and Nevis played in the Dominican Republic for their home match against Puerto Rico before jetting off to the Bahamas for Saturday's away match. These arrangements are due to COVID-19 restrictions which require testing of players and technical staff before and after games and before travel. It is expected that the players and coaches will be quarantined upon arrival in St. Kitts and Nevis in keeping with the Federation's COVID-19 protocols. St. Kitts and Nevis leads Group F with 6 points, followed by Trinidad and Tobago with 4 points, after both teams would have played 2 matches each. Puerto Rico is in third place with 1 point, and Guyana and the Bahamas round out the table yet to register a point. St. Kitts and Nevis next do battle in June 2021 FIFA International window dates when they face their toughest test yet, Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. To progress from this group into the next qualifying round, St. Kitts and Nevis would need to top the group, and a victory in their next match would all but assure that result.
The National Bank Senior Basketball League continued on Sunday with 2 games. In the first game, Famcare Bird Rock Uprisers defeated Fire and Rescue Firestorm 96-80. For Bird Rock, Cecil Angel 41 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 steals, 2 blocks. Taekwon Rogers 24 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 steals and 6 blocks. For Firestorm, Simba Hanley 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Nakimba Fai 23 points, 11 rebounds and 2 steals. In the second game, defending champs M&D Construction Inner City Conquerors defeated Ghetto Roots 90-61. For Inner City, Levan Lee 29 points, 17 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Lesroy Benjamin 21 points, 7 rebounds and 2 steals. For Ghetto Roots, Donald Keynes 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and Jaquan Hendrickson 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists and 3 steals. The league also saw 2 games on Saturday, with challengers Exodus defeating Youth and Sport Eagles 61-53 in the first game, and ENK Minimart Sandy Point Falcons defeating ASC Wolfpack 76-70 in the second game. And that's it for sports. When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. And we're wrapping up with a recap of the top stories. COVID task force meets with political party officials. 1 hospitalized after accident in downtown Bastille. And officials tour renovations at East Line Bus Terminal. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 Newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barrage. Goodbye.